La emisión está comenzando. Todos los asistentes están en modo de solo escucha.
Hola amigos de Landatel, soy Diego García, Product Manager. Hoy vamos a hablar sobre RACOM. RACOM es una empresa con la que empezamos a trabajar a finales del año pasado y a la que le hicimos una presentación un poquito más formal en la feria de Ashland a finales de marzo. RACOM es una empresa checa, se especializa en radioenlaces de alta capacidad en banda licenciada. Como hoy va a ser una presentación un poquito de la marca, tampoco me quiero estirar mucho. Simplemente, bueno, hoy va a ser un webinar un poco especial porque además de la presentación, que va a ser en inglés, que no es algo habitual en Landatel, vamos a tener al final un caso de éxito que nos va a presentar Víctor de la Nuez de WiFiCanarias. Para hablarnos de RACOM y de sus productos, tenemos a Jiří Hlaváč, que es el Product Manager de RACOM. A lo mejor por ser en inglés, alguien tiene alguna dificultad al entenderlo. Nosotros estamos abiertos a cualquier pregunta y cualquier cosa que estiméis que no vais bien en inglés, nosotros la podemos responder offline sin ningún tipo de problema y como siempre, ya que tenemos contacto con la gente de RACOM, os podemos hacer de traductores para todos aquellos que se sientan un poco más perdidos con el idioma. De todas maneras, bueno, yo creo que el lenguaje, la manera que tiene de hablar Jiří se entiende bastante bien. No quiero desanimar a nadie y quiero que por lo menos lo intentéis. Como digo siempre, al final habrá un turno de preguntas. Si me las vais haciendo, la podemos hacer más dinámica y además, bueno, además de Jiří, hoy Víctor puede ayudarnos a darnos estas respuestas. Dicho esto, good afternoon, Jiří.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. I'm going to give you the screen in order to see your laptop.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Now we are seeing your presentation. We can see your presentation, so you can start when you want.
Okay. First of all, I would little bit introduce me and my colleague who is going to present. So this is me. Hello, and this is Pavel, my colleague from product management, who will help with the live demo. Okay. Now we go to the presentation. So I will introduce the Ray 3, which is the third generation of RACOM microwave. Just now we have 24 GHz band available. It's already installed in some Spanish customers like Victor. And I will tell you why it is optimal microwave for wireless ISPs. We did quite large research before we started the development. We did quite large research what wireless ISPs really need. And market, of course, requires speed, range, and price. But our question was, is there anything else you would need where we can deliver more? And the answer is yes. And we got the answers which are on the slide, which is mainly the easy and speedy installation. Then the spectral efficiency, especially in the 24 GHz band where there is quite narrow band, the utilization of the spectrum is very important. Then low OPEX, because every ISP is fighting with the money, and the OPEX is very important, and it has to be connected with high reliability of the link, because if the link is not stable, if there is maintenance needed, or even to go to the site to repair or exchange the unit, it's high cost and low satisfaction for the users. So these are very high valued, and then we found also few others, which is PoE or DC power supply, where PoE is something like 80 to 90%, and DC in the cases where the fiber optic Ethernet is used, which is something like 10 to 20% and a little bit growing over time. And then quite important low power consumption, and to allow the unit to be used with the batteries or solar power supplies. And of course, what Landatel and RACOM provide together, a reliable supplier, perfect and timely support, where we believe we provide significant difference against the cheap vendors. Then we thought what else our users demand and what they give them the benefit to use RACOM over our competitors. And we found that the flexibility and optimal mix of parameters are very important. And in flexibility, it means freely choose the channels, modulation, and algorithm to secure the data. This is called FETs. And additional feature is asymmetry on bandwidth. It's connected with the spectral efficiency, especially for the last lines to the home users, where the bandwidth back to the internet is much lower than the bandwidth from internet to the houses. Then flexibility in interfaces, so you can connect whatever interface to the unit. And of course, flexibility in management, because every ISP may use different standards or different methods to access. So they want to have it, the free choice. And then what was valued very high in RAID 2 generation, which is the previous one, which is available already for several years. And it's optimal mix of parameters, which means that the unit is focused on functionality and simplicity. And what's not needed, it's either not there, or if it is needed, it's done perfectly and user-friendly and very productive way. And of course, optimal performance. It means stability in the air and using the hardware to its maximum. So these were the reasons to build RAID 3, and we believe we somehow were able to, or our developers were able to put practically all these requirements to the product, and it was driven by technical perfection and the focus on productive and satisfied user. And we hope that you would be one of these. And so the thinking was to keep all the strengths of the current or old generation RAID 2, which was very good, especially in user-friendly parameters, technical quality, simplicity, and reliability. Then to add gigabit capacity, which is today the speed which most customers use and most ISPs demand, and to add to that the flexibility, reliability, and overall value. And as a result, our team developed the generation RAID 3, which I am going to present in more detail. Here are the marks on this slide, which you can see. This is the green OK, which means on the later slides, it's used for the parameters where we skip over RAID 2 parameters, improved significantly RAID 2. So for those of you who are familiar with RAID 2, it's easy to understand. And then there is the asterisk, the yellow one, which means the unit is on top of the market, especially in 24 GHz band. So parameters which are marked by yellow asterisk means they are the best in the industry or in par with other vendors. First point, as you see, they are marked in my presentation. There are 6 of the key arguments discussed, and the number 1 is the capacity, gigabit capacity in full division duplex, which means gigabit in both directions in the same time. So it's the data flies both ways, 1 gigabit, which means it's 2 gigabit total throughput maximum. And then the asymmetry, which is, by our opinion, important as well. To reach the gigabit, the unit provides up to 112 megahertz channels and up to 4000 QAM modulations, which are very good, or practically by today industry, practically the peak of the industry in these bands. Then it allows us to reach the capacity, as I mentioned already, 2 times gigabit. It's a little bit over. If we go to 250 megahertz band, which is standard in most places, including Spain, it's the standard for 24 gig band. Or if the band is only 200 megahertz, which are US and some other countries, it allows, if we go to full duplex, it allows us 2 times 713. Or you can, if you use asymmetry, then it allows gigabit one direction and half gigabit, over half gigabit the back direction. And on top of that, we are offering the plenty, practically more than 10,000 of asymmetric choices, which means we have on each direction you can switch, or you can choose any combination of 12 channel widths, and combined with up to 10 modulations which are available. And on top of the modulations, we also have powerful ACM, which is able to switch the forward error correction optimization by the QPSK strong modulation marked by QPSK-S. So there is plenty of choices, and in all the parameters on this page, we are on the top of the industry offering today. Argument in graphical, what it means to offer 1 gigabit. It is the picture of typical microwave. You see the band, and in the middle there is the duplexer, which is typically the piece of hardware which does not allow to use the frequencies in the middle. And most vendors also do not use the lower part of the band, the first 50 megahertz, to be able to sell the unit worldwide without modifications. So practically here you see twice 56 megahertz, which is a typical what most vendors offer. And in these, up to the modulation, they are able to reach up to half gigabit. Then, if we go to Race 3 with the same 24 gigahertz band, which means within 250 megahertz total, you see we are able to transmit gigabit both ways in the same space. 2 reasons: wider channels, and as a result, or necessary condition, is the gap between channels is only 18 megahertz, which is very narrow, and it allows us to really fully utilize the band. Or what we can do with the asymmetry and the flexibility, the gap can be moved and the channels can be assigned freely. So practically you have, as I mentioned, 10,000 different choices how to place your channels into the band. I hope it's clear. Number 2, which is very valued by our customers, is easy installation and fast deployment. That's what people love, and I hope you would have the same experience when you unpack your boxes. And these 6 items are the most important ones. Of course, there are some others. And now Pavel would show you how, if you get the box, if you open the box, how fast you are able to prepare it for the operation. And you will see the fast boot, the intuitive initial management, easy mechanical installation on antenna. We will just mention. We can show it as well later on. And we have built-in spectrum analyzer, we have antenna element tools and user productive management, which, if we have time at the end, we will discuss and show them later on. So now, Pavel, please, I will switch to the camera. Now, I hope you see. And Pavel would show you the opening the box and what you appear, what you need to do to operate the units. So please, Pavel, your turn.
So first, you need to order the units. Yeah, that's clear. To be able to get something. So you will get such a nice box, and when you open it, the box, both units are packed inside. The way that for the pure testing, you do not need to unpack it from box. You can just open the box and plug the power into the units to be able to make a basic on-table testing. Yeah. So I will plug in the power to both units. So you can see that status LEDs are showing some activity, and we are using some power sources. Any type of power source you can use. This is our standard. This is some unmentionable producer power source. So let's configure the units.
First, I would mention that the unit flash the light inside the box. So depending on the color, you see what the unit is doing. And as you see, it's now blinking red and green, which means it's booted up. But the red means the password on Wi-Fi is not set. So it's a warning here.
So the default IP address is 192.168.169.169 for one unit, or 170 for the other unit. So you get the login screen. Default username is admin. Default password is the same, admin. Then you log in, and you can see I forgot to change my notebook Ethernet setting. So good example. So you need to change your IP address to some IP address which is from the same range. So I selected 192.168.169.111. Now we should be able to connect. Okay, let's connect, and you get the status screen. Yeah, you can see that both units are joined together. They established a link already because they are heading each other inside the box. So you can turn on both units in the box and you get the link established. So the basic setting which you need to do with the link is first set up your service IP address for the sake you need to be available remotely. You can see at the moment there are default IP addresses. You will choose probably some IP addresses based on your network plan. I will not change the IP addresses now because it's just wasting of time, but you would put there something like 10.1.2.3, something like this, including the gateway to be able to access the unit remotely. Yeah, just changing this IP address. Then in radio parameters, you need to set up the required channel width. I will set up there 28, for example, the 28 megahertz channel, which with reasonable modulation, which gives you, let's say, the 100 megabits per second speed. With this 4000 QN modulation, you would get even higher speed. I just use it as an example. to make some reliable configuration with these on-table conditions. You should set up the modulation for both sides of the link. You set up some good RF power. In this example, I will set up just the small RF power values just for this on-table demonstration. And in a real situation, you would also use ATPC. So this setup is enough. Now I will apply the changes. It takes some time because the whole radio channel radio has to be reconfigured. And you can see the link is again established, working on new parameters. So for this, it's really enough. Prior moving the link from this table scenario to mask, to outside, you should remove this warning, this alarm, which gives you a warning that the Wi-Fi is still working on default password. So, you can change it in service access when you go to password manager and put there some reasonable password to be safe. And also, you should finally set up this default password for their administrator user. So it's really enough, as this basic setup is enough. And you can see it's really simple and fast.
Okay, so I hope it's enough. Any questions to that?
Jiří?
Okay, now let's, Pavel will unpack the box, and later on he will show you the gigabit, how easy it is to reach 1 gigabit on the link. And meantime, we go to the next slide. And it's argument number 3, which has more slides. First of all, it's about flexible channels. And first of all, it's important to mention that it's a software-defined radio, which means everything is software-defined. So there are no hardware limits on the unit. For the user, the advantage is that there are no prohibited frequencies in the spectrum. Practically every megahertz can be used. And also, because of everything is software defined, there is only one hardware. So it means you can use any unit as upper or lower unit. For example, in the service department, one unit is enough, and you can replace any side of the link, which is not typical on most hardware vendors. Other advantage of the flexible channels is only 18 megahertz gap between TX and RX channels, which means you can really put your channels relatively nearby each other. According to our knowledge, this is the lowest value in the industry, far lowest. No one else is close to that. And additional advantage for you, especially for busy sites, like you see on the picture on the right, is that the channels can be placed side by side on neighbor units. So if you have many units or many antennas in the same direction, you can separate the frequencies. By frequencies, you can separate the signals. So there is no need for additional megahertz between the units, like on some cheap hardware or from some competitors. You can really touch the channels side by side, and the signal would be not compromised. And this is because Race 3, even if it's free band, it meets standard for licensed bands where these rules are quite strict. And how all these features would help you in the real situation, because if you go to the site, normally there is some units already operational, and you see on the picture the occupied channels. Then with the standard microwave in 24 gig with the hardware duplexer in the middle, this is the red area in the middle of the slide where you can't place your channels, and sometimes there is a noise on site. So if you use the standard microwave, normally they do not have asymmetry. So what you can do is something like what you see on the picture. So you put the receiver and transmitter somewhere into the gaps, but because typically the smallest width of the channel is 7 megahertz, and the space here between noise and occupied channels is lower or not enough, the channel is noised, which means you have to operate on QPSK, and it means something like 12 megabits. So it's not good. So on the other part, there is a big part of the spectrum which you can't use because asymmetry is not allowed. So both channels have to have the same width, which means not very effective usage of the spectrum. With Ray 3, you are in totally different situation. First of all, using the narrow channel, you can really use any small space in the spectrum as you like. For example, if it is 5 megahertz, you can do it. We are as low as 3.5. And if there is a big place, then you just place your channel where you want up to the 112 megahertz. So you are able, in this same situation, you are able to build gigabit link one direction and 33 megabits other direction. Compared with 12 versus 52, you see the 20 times difference on the direction, which is very important. Or you can use the situation some other way, which is for congested sites, where you split your free space between the occupied channels into more chunks, and to use small space at the end of the spectrum, then the channel which was mentioned here as well. And then because we have no limits, so you can even place another channels nearby your other channels. So practically you can build in these situations, and most of these are faster than our competitors can do just one. I hope it's clear. If there is any questions, we can discuss it after the presentation or offline. This is just illustrative picture.
Yeah, there are a few questions, but we can do it later when you finish.
Okay, I would be happy to answer. Then we also focused on flexibility in the hardware connections. It means on the Ethernet to have the metallic and fiber interface to provide many Ethernet switch configurations which real life requires. Synchronous Ethernet, PTP. We also have quite big flexibility on the management side, so you can use a web interface or Ray tools, which is a mobile, which we will show later on, or command line interface, different protocols, and for management, any Ethernet port or Wi-Fi can be used. And for antenna, we have several choices in terms of size, parameters, and producers. What makes RACOM different from our competitors is parameters. Here is a picture how the production histogram looks like. It means amount of units with one parameter measured. We do the same for every parameter, but this is just an example. And this is how the production looks like. Then we set the, here is the average of these histogram. What cheap vendors do, the average is on the data sheet. What RACOM does, we put on the data sheet the guaranteed value. And over time, the production parameters change because of tolerances of the components and so on. So if the production histogram change, the average is still far below the threshold, the guaranteed parameter. And if there is any unit which falls outside or is worse than the guaranteed parameter, it's outlier and it goes back to the manufacturing to repair the piece, so it can't go out from the door. So it brings to the customer the guarantee the parameters are reached even in the worst tolerances in the manufacturing on each unit going from the door. Then another advantage is reliability. It consists from two parts. First is the hardware reliability, which is done by robust aluminum casing, quality bracket, and our production and what we do to ensure the high quality of the production process, which is on the next slide. Then based on that, the expected MTBF is more than 100 years, and we are still working to improve it. And on the soft side, electronic side, Ray is proven to be very stable link in difficult weather conditions or difficult interference situations. Practically, our customers say if RACOM doesn't work on some link, you don't need to test any other hardware because no one would work. So I think it's proven of the quality. And then multi-level overvoltage protection, which is built into the unit. And we shine in this, especially in the high energy lightning. Normally, the lightning shock is put into the shield of the cable. Our unit is able to survive the shock directly to the Ethernet wire. So it means it goes to the unit. So our multi-level overvoltage protection inside the unit consumes the high energy shock, electric shock. And every unit has to have 8 kilovolts, but this is low energy lighting. So this is the same for every vendor. And on top, we have excellent resistance against interference, as I already mentioned. And it's even Ray 2 was good in this parameter. We are better than that. Specific chapter of RACOM is that we are EU-based company with in-house development, with our own factories, all located in Czech. So we have our own processor board and electronic board assembly line, and putting components on PCB with a lot of checking within the process to improve the reliability of the resulting boards. Then we have our own mechanical factory and electronic assembly and calibration in Nové Mesto. Every unit goes through climate chambers to stress the temperatures before it goes out of the door. And of course, we have final testing and logistics located also inside in-house. And we provide support, multi-language, check quality and speed to the partners, which ensures they get the support on time and high quality. And RACOM is also known for high descriptive manuals, easy to read, easy to find the information, and application notes, which are helping you to configure the unit for your need. So now I would like to switch to Pavel again to show you, we are at the end of my presentation, and Pavel would show you how he set up the unit to get the gigabit speed.
So I will change at the initial start we choose 28 MHz channel. Now I will use the widest available channel, 112 MHz, and apply the settings. I put the radios in a little bit more defined conditions comparing to inbox installation. I put there the signal attenuator, which makes it available, makes the radio conditions better to be available to reach this high speed. Now you can we can check the result. Now the net bit rate 1002 megabits per second is available. I can show you the frequency spectrum analyzer output, which shows that the spectrum is now quite much more occupied. You can see that almost half of the available spectrum is occupied by one channel. The other channel would be able to be seen on the other side if we would perform the measurement from the opposite unit. So that's all. This is 1 gigabit per second on this free band.
So you have seen how easy it is to unpack the box, to put it on the table or to the antenna, and to operate it. On top of that, you do not need to operate the unit from the laptop. So I will now connect my mobile to the RACOM Ray 324, and here is the production serial number. And I am getting the IP address because it's DHCP, so it means it automatically gets the address. Now we are connected. I do not have access to the internet, but it's clear. And now I switch to Ray Tools, which is the application you can freely download from the Google or Android store. Android Apple Store, and here you see, for example, now it's chosen RSS. I can choose any other parameter on the peer or other link accessible from one side, and here as Pavel moves the unit, you can see how the signal is bigger or smaller. So it's the same information as you have in the live demo, and now the units are disconnected. As you see, Pavel is disconnecting them, and now we are minus 75 dBm, and it can even disconnect. And if you want your hand on the tower to be free, just put the tone, and the mobile would start to and you can put your ear and you can easily put both hands on the antenna and make the antenna alignment. Okay, and you can switch different methods of the tone. Okay, I think it's easy to understand, and people can operate even without the manual. Okay. So, to summarize the presentation, we are offering the gigabit in free band, which you see operates with extreme flexibility of the unit, excellent reliability for you in terms of hardware as well as the wave reliability, and by our opinion, Ray 3 offers optimal mix of features. So that's end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Victor, if you are ready, we can start with your presentation. Víctor, si estás preparado, podemos empezar con tu caso de éxito.
Te iba a decir que a mí me puedes hablar en español, que no hay problema.
Vale.
Hola, pues nada, buenas tardes, Diego, gracias a Landatel, gracias, Jiří, bueno, por permitirme estos 5 minutitos que quiero comentar acerca de los equipos de RACOM. Lo primero que tengo que decir es que me ha sorprendido. Realmente me han gustado tanto el acabado físico, que es bastante robusto, y, bueno, pues realmente sobre todos los puntos de la presentación que ha hecho Jiří, yo tengo unas cuantas que me gustaría destacarlas porque, digamos que son las que a mí realmente me han cautivado, ¿vale? Tengo una pequeña lista y las voy a pasar por encima de ellas muy rápidamente, pero con el énfasis que creo que se merecen. El tema de los anchos de canal, el tema de la asimetría, lo ha explicado magníficamente Jiří, pero es verdad bueno, que es una de las grandes ventajas que no he visto en otros fabricantes, no lo he visto en otras marcas que solemos utilizar muchísimo y que realmente nos permite manejar el tráfico de forma asimétrica, como realmente ocurre en el tráfico de Internet, utilizando un canal más ancho para, digamos, al destino del caudal hacia los clientes y uno más estrecho para el retorno del cliente, que en realidad es lo que suele ocurrir en la mayoría de los casos. Con eso, lo que conseguimos realmente es aprovechar mejor el espectro radioeléctrico, que ya todos sabemos cómo está, y bueno, cositas como estas son las que nos dan ventaja, nos dan bastante vidilla, ¿no? Incluso esa pequeña separación de tan solo 18 megahercios entre la banda lateral superior y la inferior de la siguiente portadora, pues la verdad que nos permite aprovechar muchísimo, muchísimo el espectro. Eso, además, añade una flexibilidad total con los canales. Con otros fabricantes podemos elegir 1 o 2 canales, punto, no hay más. Y con la solución de RACOM, el RAI 3, la verdad que tenemos un juego tremendo en función incluso del ancho de canal. Podemos tener muchísimas combinaciones y no nos limitamos a solamente pues 1 o 2 canales como bueno, más de uno ya puede imaginar. El tema del ancho de banda, que estamos hablando de un gigabit real, no gigabit agregado, como también se suele vender. Estamos hablando de que tenemos en condiciones favorables, donde, en fin, tenemos el máximo SNR posible, pues 1 gigabit de capacidad en cada sentido, lo cual es maravilloso, sencillamente. Podemos estar hablando de velocidades de fibra, en realidad. Tenemos una cosa que voy a hacer un pequeño hincapié porque me parece mágico, en realidad. Y me parece que deberían hacer más hincapié en este punto, que es el fast boot, el arranque rápido. Bueno, el arranque rápido, que sí, arranque rápido, pero ¿cuánto es rápido? Bueno, desde que se enciende el equipo hasta que es completamente operativo, son exactamente 29 segundos. Esto es una maravilla. Pero si esto es una maravilla, aún también merece una mención especial el tiempo que se tarda en actualizar el firmware, que es 1 minuto, exacto. Estos son tiempos de cronómetro, no son datos de datasheet, los he medido yo personalmente. Con lo cual, imagínense, cualquier cambio, un reinicio en el equipo, que en realidad durante la operación rara vez vas a tener que hacerlo, pero, oye, hay que hacer un reinicio, son 30 segundos de corte únicamente. Y evitamos pues las típicas quejas de los clientes, que llevo todo el día sin internet. No, mira, han sido 30 segundos, no pasa nada. La actualización del firmware igual, ocurre en solamente 1 minuto. Pero aquí hay una cosa también, que todo esto orientado a minimizar el corte que va a percibir un cliente y que me encanta, que es que las configuraciones las hacemos únicamente en uno de los equipos. Me explico. Al acceder a la interfaz de cualquiera de las unidades, podemos activar esas configuraciones en los 2 extremos. De manera que si queremos hacer, por ejemplo, no sé, voy a inventarme algo. Queremos aumentar el ancho de canal, queremos pasar de 20 a 40 MHz. Pues solamente lo hacemos en una de las unidades, ¿vale? Siempre y cuando tengamos la configuración gemela activada, y esto nos da 2 ventajas. La primera, minimiza el tiempo de corte, que en realidad es cercano a 0. En pruebas intensivas, a lo mejor me pierde un paquete haciendo un ping, pero en automático ya ha levantado. Esa es una. Y 2, minimiza el riesgo a que se produzca un error en la configuración remota, puesto que solo lo hacemos en un equipo. Esto realmente, dicho así, suena como un poco esotérico, pero os animo de verdad a probarlo porque reduce los errores, reduce el tiempo de inactividad y realmente se agradece porque simplifica mucho los tiempos de actuación. Eso aplica para el firmware también. Podemos actualizar el firmware de los equipos en las 2 unidades al mismo tiempo, todavía minimizando más los tiempos de corte, 1 minuto, acuérdense. Otro de los puntos que ha comentado Jiří es el tema de que el hardware es el mismo, tanto para la banda alta como para la banda alta. Los que estáis acostumbrados a equipos de banda licenciada, os sonará eso de que, bueno, pues uno de los equipos va en la banda alta, otro en la banda baja del espectro, de la banda que estemos utilizando, lo cual, si queremos tener equipos de recambio, supone que en realidad hay que tener los dos extremos y encarece, bueno, pues esa compra. En el caso de RACOM, el mismo equipo vale para los dos extremos, simplemente es configurarlo con el desplegable de frecuencias. No hay diferencias en cuanto al hardware, puesto que todo es definido por software, que es una de las grandes ventajas. El Wi-Fi lo acaba de mostrar Jiří a través de la aplicación, que también es muy cómodo, nos permite simplemente con el móvil ver los niveles de señal, oír los niveles de señal. Hay varias formas de escuchar el tono, incluso en una de ellas, quizás ahora no se apreció mucho, pero la propia aplicación web dice de voz el nivel de señal en inglés, eso sí, pero nos lo dice. De tal manera que nos permite tener las dos manos sobre el enlace y el móvil podríamos tenerlo perfectamente en el bolsillo de la chaqueta, que oiremos las indicaciones de la aplicación. Y bueno, dejo para el final lo obvio, que lo habéis visto en la configuración. Es francamente sencillo de configurar. Habéis visto cómo, estando en la caja, ya el equipo enlaza y ahí mismo en la caja se pueden hacer todas las configuraciones necesarias para llevarlo luego al lugar definitivo de instalación. He ido un poco rápido porque en realidad yo creo que Jiří lo ha explicado maravillosamente. Yo simplemente he querido destacar estos puntos que a mí me parecen interesantes y bueno, pues estar encantado de si hay alguna pregunta, pues también aclararla, ¿no? Perdonad la velocidad, pero creo que se ha entendido.
Sí, bueno, muchas gracias, Víctor, por tu presentación. Es verdad que ha sido un buen resumen de lo que ha explicado Jiří. La verdad es que sí que había algunas preguntas, pero tú en tu presentación las has respondido en su mayor parte. Pero si no te importa, voy a hacer un par más y
claro.
Inicialmente la voy a intentar hacer en inglés a ver si Jiří es capaz de responderla. Jiří? Hi, can I...
Yes,
a few questions for our customers, if you may answer it. You in the video with Pavel, we can see you have used ubiquity PoEs. Which type of PoE, passive PoE voltage do you need with these devices?
You can use any PoE which is meeting, first of all, there are two types. There are passive and active. If it is active, it has to meet the norm 803.380 and provide 30 watts at least, or roughly 30 watts, which is in the norm, and or better or more. Or you can use any passive PoE source, like few are on our website in accessories part, and then the voltage has to be between 20 and 60 volts.
Okay, thank you. The devices in the box are pre-linked from factory, or they link each other because they found each other?
They are set with the factory such a way to see each other. These are the default parameters. It means in the factory we set up most parameters such a way that link, then when switched on, they found each other and just confirm, okay, I see you.
So if we have an spare unit, they will link with the units from other box as easy as they were in the same box.
First of all, both units have to have the same channel widths to be able to connect to each other. So there are two ways. If you have configuration of the unit which you change, then to flash the configuration into the unit before operation, or you have to make the factory default, factory settings on both units, and then both are set accordingly to hear each other.
And just to understand that in the box, two slightly different units are different configurations are provided. The units are provided in the box as a lower and upper unit, as you are used to on microwave links. One is lower, operating in lower band, and the other in upper band. And as Jiří said, both units are the same hardware type, exactly the same hardware. They just have slight different default settings. One is set up for operating in lower band with IP address 192.168.169.169, and the other unit in the box is by default set up to operate in upper band with IP address 192.168.169.170. That's why you are able to establish the link in the default settings. The same hardware and slightly different defaults for lower and upper unit to be able to establish the link immediately.
Okay, thank you, Pavel. What kind of security you can apply to these devices in order to prevent a third party entering them?
Please,
security. Well, you can set up the user accounts for the access, controlling the access to management. The array provide 3 levels of user access rights. The default admin account has the highest priority, and the default password. Please never forget to change the default password. Please don't forget to change it. Then the second level of user privileges is the ordinary administrator user, which has it can operate the link completely, just cannot create the other accounts. And the lowest security level has an account which is called guest, and such an account has a read-only privileges. For each of those group of accounts, you can create multiple users. So, for example, you can create 1 or 2 guest users, 2 users with administrating privileges, and, for example, 1 user with super privileges to be able to manage the other accounts. That's for accessing the HTTP interface. If you want to access the command line interface, you are using the same accounts, and you can provide SSH keys to make this command line connection even more secure. So SSH keys can be used.
Okay.
And,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
No, you can go on. Sorry, I thought you finished.
Yeah. So, and with the Wi-Fi management, for the Wi-Fi, you provide ordinary passphrase, which is this. I always forget the shortcut. This
VPA2.
WPA. Oh, that's another one. This ordinary Wi-Fi encryption, WPA2.
And of course, to protect some hackers to access the units, there is a possibility, and it's recommended on site in the management to click on the box which is called okay, which is called Wi-Fi on air, which means air loss. So it means Wi-Fi is switched on and powered on only if the link is down. We think it's secure enough because the link is operating, the Wi-Fi is off without power, and it means nobody can access. And only in the case there is an issue on the link, something is wrong, the Wi-Fi boots up and it's available, of course, with the password.
Okay, the last question in English. The app for the phone is only for RAID 3 or it works in RAID 2 too?
It's the same application for array 2 and array 3, and you can connect with any mobile phone, with any web browser, any mobile phone, either to array 2 or array 3 directly via web interface, or you can use this Array Tools application, which is available for both for Android and iOS platforms, and it's the same for array 2 and array 3.
Okay, the last question is directed to Victor, but I want to do it to you too. Which instance you can get with these links?
Well, it depends on situation. Should it be in a free space in universe? It can be thousands of kilometers. Should it be in really heavy rain? It will be a shorter distance. But it's difficult to give a general answer. We provide on our website. Then you can try to make some calculations for your specific situation. You can access the calculator on our website, put there two endpoints on a map and try the calculation. Or also you can use our array tool applications in your mobile phone, where is also some basic calculation can be provided.
It's based only on distance, which is available on our web calculator as well, but the mobile calculator is simplified version, so there is no map, so it does not put your coordinates on the map. It just calculates the distance, expecting the Fresnel zone is free, and you will see the calculation for your unit, for your antennas, and you will see how many decibels you have the phase margin to operate the unit.
Ok, thank you. Víctor, esta pregunta realmente iba para ti. ¿Qué distancias has conseguido en tus enlaces?
Bueno, ahora mismo tengo dos enlaces. El más largo son 11 kilómetros. En este estamos utilizando parábolas de 90 centímetros y estamos obteniendo 700, no recuerdo el pico, pero muy cercano a los 800 megabits. De todas formas, lo que han explicado ahora, además lo podéis replicar muy fácilmente. En la página web de RACOM tenéis un simulador que os permite geoposicionar las antenas, vamos a decir, o directamente indicar la distancia. Jugar con los niveles de potencia, jugar con el tipo de antena, ¿vale? Y esto os va a dar una tabla en la que aparecen además todas las velocidades que se pueden alcanzar. Cierto es que al final la banda de 24, ya lo sabemos, ¿cómo se llama? La lluvia nos puede afectar a la estabilidad del enlace. Y esto es cada vez es más grave a medida que más largo es el enlace. No obstante, bueno, no puedo hablar ahora mismo de problemas en este sentido. Ya prácticamente aquí en Canarias puedo decir que esto es verano, con lo cual no espero que llueva hasta diciembre, enero ya bien entrados, ¿no? Pero en realidad la distancia la puedes comprobar en la página web antes de elegir la antena. Recuerden que los equipos vienen sin antena, hay que adquirir la antena adecuada para cada caso. Tienes de 60, 90 y 1,20 m, si no recuerdo mal. Y bueno, escoger la antena adecuada en función de la distancia y del ancho de banda que quieras conseguir.
Sí, bueno, ya aprovecho yo a decir, las antenas son de 30-60, que las tenemos habitualmente en stock, y de 90 y de 1,20, que las pedimos a lo mejor con un poquito más de tiempo, dado que son mucho más grandes. Bueno, pues esto es todo, ya se nos ha hecho el tiempo encima. Jiří, Pavel, thank you very much for your presentation and your demonstration.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you for everybody listening to us.
Víctor, a ti muchísimas gracias por tu colaboración.
A mandar, como siempre.
Y a todos vosotros, muchísimas gracias por asistir. Bueno, como siempre, me he dejado un par de preguntas en el tintero, pero bueno, es que no nos ha dado tiempo a hacer más, las responderemos online. Y eso, lo que estaba diciendo, muchísimas gracias por asistir y como siempre os invitamos a que vengáis a nuestro próximo webinar. Que paséis un buen día.